Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into nested loops. Think of them as loops inside loops. Imagine you've got a photo gallery organized in rows and columns. You want to display every single image, row by row, column by column. A single loop handles one dimension, in this case, rows. A nested loop, a loop inside that loop, steps through the second dimension, that is, columns, for each row. Let's look at a simple example of nested loops that prints star in a 5x5 grid of rows and columns. Let's write a code that prints stars in a 5x5 grid of rows and columns. To pull this off, we're gonna roll with two for loops. One to drop us down a line, that is, rows, and the other to run through each slot on that line, that is, columns. I've written this first loop, our outer loop, whose job is to drop the cursor to the next line once the inner loop finishes printing all the stars in that row. Next, we have an inner loop that writes each star in the row one by one. Then we use console.write instead of console.writeLine because console.write keeps writing text on the current line without moving the cursor to the next line. Finally, after the inner loop ends, we call console.writeLine, which moves the cursor to the next line. When I run the program, the console displays a 5x5 grid of stars. The arrow highlights the line currently being executed, and the two frames below display the current values of the row and column variables from the outer and inner loops, respectively. Finally, when execution reaches the console.write line, the console window prints the stars. Now, when the execution starts and the arrow goes inside the outer loop, the initial value of row is 1 and column is 0. Then arrow moves to inner loop and initializes the column variable to 1. Now, the arrow moves to the first console.write call, which instructs the console window to print a star. The inner loop continues as the value of column is now 2, which is less than or equal to 5. Similarly, the inner loop keeps writing stars to the console as long as the column value remains less than or equal to 5. Once column becomes 6, the condition column is less than or equal to 5 is false, so the inner loop stops. Then the next line, console.writeLine, moves the cursor to the next line. After this, the outer loop continues, and the value of the variable row becomes 2. Now, the inner loop starts fresh again till it prints 5 stars on the current row. The process repeats as long as the outer loop's row value is less than or equal to 5. Once it has printed 5 rows, the outer loop terminates and the program finishes executing. We'll explore some nested loop examples in the next video. That's a wrap for today.